On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County, welcome to this primary election candidate forum with candidates running for Pierce County Council, District 1. My name is Bailey Womble, and with me tonight is Liz Kernitz-Thurlow. She and I will be co-moderating this forum. Also with us is Terry Baker, who will be the timekeeper. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that encourages the informed and active participation of citizens in government. Our mission is defending democracy and empowering voters. We hold candidate forums as a service to the public to provide voters with an opportunity to compare and contrast candidates before casting their votes. The League also influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League is open to any person aged 16 and older who subscribes to the purpose and policies of the League and includes men as well as women. Before we begin the opening statements and questions, I will give the League's land acknowledgement and then explain the format. The League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County wishes to acknowledge that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, surrounded by their traditional waters in the shadow of Mount Tahoma. We actively seek inclusive and respectful partnerships that honor Indigenous cultures, histories, identities, and current realities. Again, this forum is for the primary election that will be on August 4th, and candidates with us tonight are, in ballot order, Jerome O'Leary, Terrance Mayers, and Kelsey Barrans. Kenneth King was not able to join us this evening. The candidates have been given ground rules in advance, which include, among other provisions, that they will adhere to the rules of common courtesy and will not comment on the other candidates, but will focus on the issues, and that there will be no additional recordings made of this forum. Could we please confirm that each of you has agreed to these rules? And could I get a thumbs up, please? Excellent, thank you all. If you have questions for the candidates, you may text them to 425-765-5388. Again, that number is 425-765-5388. Questions must be directed to all candidates and may be consolidated or reworded. Candidates have a limited time to answer each question and may finish short sentences once the timer stops, but may not continue to speak after that. All candidates will be asked the same questions and have the same amount of time to answer. Please be sure to mute yourself when it is not your turn to speak and remain on gallery view so you can see the timer.
Let's begin. Once again, the candidates for Pierce County Council District 1 are, in ballot order, Jerome O'Leary, Terrance Mayers, Kenneth King, who's not here, and Kelsey Barrans. Each candidate will give an opening statement of up to 2 minutes. At the end, the candidates will give closing statements of up to 1 minute. Jerome O'Leary.
Is it okay to go?
Please.
All right. Well, good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's forum. My name is Jerome O'Leary, and I'm running to represent the citizens of District 1 on the Pierce County Council. Pierce County has been my home my entire life. I grew up here in a hardworking family where I learned the value of showing up, keeping our word, and serving others. Those values have guided me throughout my life as a husband and father and throughout my professional career in commercial real estate and construction, and as a partner in our family Christmas tree farm. I've spent more than 30 years serving in civic organizations like Rotary, on nonprofit boards, and have been appointed to many county commissions. My county services include the Planning Commission, Transportation Commission, Agricultural Advisory Commission, Conservation Futures Board, and most recently, the Charter Review Commission. Those experiences have taught me that the best solutions don't always come from the loudest voices. They come from listening, building consensus, bringing people together, and focusing on what is best for our community. I'm running because I believe Pierce County is at an important crossroads. Families are feeling the pressure of rising costs. Public safety remains a concern. Traffic and infrastructure continue to lag behind growth, and people want their local government to spend their hard-earned tax dollars wisely and responsibly. I believe county government should focus on core responsibilities like public safety, maintaining our roads and infrastructure, supporting responsible economic growth, preserving our rural communities and natural resources, and delivering services effectively, efficiently, and transparently. If elected, I will approach my decisions with integrity, accountability, and commitment to listening first. My decisions will be based on what's best for the people of Pierce County, not politics. I'd be honored to earn your trust in your vote, and I thank you and look forward to our discussion.
Thank you. Terrance Mayers, please.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Terrance Mayers. First and foremost, I'm a dad of three. I'm a small business owner, and like most people in District 1, I know the daily juggling act is real. Getting kids to school, getting to work, appointments, bills, dinner, uh, and on the other side, hoping nothing breaks down or there's no surprises. And like many of you, I use my navigation system every day, not because I don't know where I'm going, but to see where the traffic jams are. How long is it going to take me to get to work? So those are just some of the daily things that you and I both go through. One thing I have to point out is that uh, getting to work should not be a part-time job, and I feel that it is. For more than 5 years, I've served as an elected board director for the Bethel School District, helping make decisions that affect more than 20,000 students. That work has shown me how much potential our young people have. I've seen students overcome things adults should not have to expect a child to do, and some of the burdens that they've had to carry, from housing instability, food insecurity, transportation issues, mental health struggles, family stress, and safety concerns. One thing that's important is that kids want to succeed, they want to belong, and they want to be seen for more than the barriers that are in front of them. My work in Bethel has been about helping remove those barriers, so students can learn, grow, and make their own impact in the world. Uh, I've spent the past decade working in government. I've been a program manager, working in emergency management, environmental health, finance, and business operations. I've seen how government decisions can either help make life easier or make families feel like nobody is listening.
Thank you. Time is up. Chloe, did you receive the message that Kenneth King is here, and can you please let him in?
Yes,
He's
he is
in now.
now.
Or Liz, sorry.
He just joined.
Okay. Is he ready to do an opening statement, or do you want to go after Kelsey Barrans? I am not seeing him. That is why I asked that.
Hi, Liz. I can go after Kelsey.
There you are. Opening statement, 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes, please. And welcome.
All right, great. I just wanted to make sure the timer was going. So hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey Barrans, and I am just so grateful to the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It's one of the few places where all of us are coming together to be able to answer the same questions in the same spaces. And I think that's so incredibly important for voters, because we don't have a lot of places anymore where we have that sort of information. So thank you very much for holding this forum. So I've spent the last 20 or so years as a social worker, primarily serving victims of domestic violence and their families, as well as now doing work within a community technical college to support students who are experiencing homelessness, interpersonal violence, former foster youth, and we run our food pantry out of my office. And so through that work, I'm really able to see the impact of policy every single day. I'm able to see the ways in which funding decisions are made that have the best intentions, but then don't have the impact they're intended to have. And I would love the opportunity to be able to be the representative on the Pierce County Council, to be able to help make decisions with that wealth of knowledge, serving these communities, and bringing those voices to the table. Because I think that's one of the most important things about being a council person, is being able to bring voices to spaces that aren't often there. I am someone who loves District 1. I love all of the ways in which we have these amazing small communities. We have wonderful agriculture. We have beautiful spaces to get to enjoy outside. And I think we don't do enough to take care of those spaces to ensure that everyone has access to them, that we are doing the best we can for rural Pierce County. And that is an incredibly important thing to me. So thank you again for having us here tonight, and I look forward to having this discussion.
Thank you. Kenneth King.
Hi all, and thank you for being patient with me today while I try to figure out technology. Apparently, I just had my birthday and I'm 46, and apparently that's the age where you forget how to do things. So my name is Kenneth King. I'm running also for District 1 for Pierce County. Those of you who know me know that I've been, over the last 6 years or so, working on the crisis services throughout King and Pierce. Over the last few months, I've been able to come back down and dedicate my time to Pierce County. On top of that, I'm also trying to bridge the gaps between Pierce County and other counties where we have services that do not cross the county lines. So our services that we're working on now, we're also working in Mason, Thurston, King, Pierce, and Kitsap, and Thurston. The project that I'm working on right now does serve families with children specifically. But then on top of that, we realized that in order to serve our families best, we can't forget like Uncle Jimmy and all of that. We found a lot of holes in the system, and we've been trying our best to patch them up as we go and discovering new and creative solutions. During this, I'm also already in most of these county meetings. I'm working on trying to figure out the regional approach, coordinated entry, inclement weather, homeless activation, all of the things that we can do, we're already doing. So I'm trying to bring that up into county so that we can bring resources out to East Pierce County, where they're drastically lacking. I'm okay. That's it.
Thank you. Now we will begin the questions. For most questions, each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond, although we may announce a slightly shorter time on occasion. The candidate speaking first on each question will rotate. Liz and I will alternate asking questions. Since Jerome O'Leary gave the first opening statement, we will begin questions with Terrance Mayers. Question 1. You'll have 90 seconds for this question. What are your budget priorities for District 1? Why are these your priorities? How would you pay for them? And would that require less spending in other areas? Terrance Mayers.
First and foremost, my budget priorities is balancing the budget, being fiscally responsible. Just doing research today in Pierce County has paid out over $30 million this past year in pre and post claims against the county. So you start there. What are the direct and indirect costs? Where can we cut what needs to be cut, and how can we push the budget forward? There's so many intricacies and so many different departments that need to be audited, and adjustments need to be made across the board. As far as priorities, the first priority is to get in to learn what are the needs, what are the challenges, and then make that adjustment moving forward. So that would be my priority. First and foremost is to audit, run, and see where we can cut spending out and move forward with that.
Thank you. Next will be Kenneth King. 90 seconds.
I'm waiting for the timer.
Oh, you can just start.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think that the big part of the budgeting is, for the longest time, we have not exactly been doing the budgeting appropriately when it comes to Pierce County District 1. A lot of the services that are available are only available in the Tacoma area. We're going to have to actually spread that out. And yeah, that does mean taking away from other areas. But in order for us to be more effective with our spending, right, we have to make sure that we're doing it appropriately in the first place. So when we have individuals that are in crisis up in like East Pierce County in our district, it costs us more to bring them all the way over to Tacoma and to try to stabilize them, send them back out, and then have them go back into crisis again. This also goes with our roads, our bridges, all of these things that are not being approved and not being actually paid attention to because of the fact that they're not in the centralized area where county council is right now. So when we start looking at balancing the budget, we're actually looking at trying to figure out how to balance it out to East Pierce County and out to South Pierce County to make sure that the spending actually is effective, because of the fact that, like, right now, as things are collapsing around us, we know that that's the most expensive part. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelsey Barrans.
Thank you. So county budgets are obviously incredibly complex, and there's so many different components to those budgets. And one of the things actually that we worked on the Pierce County Charter Review was being able to look at a more extended view of what a projected budget might look like so that we have a longer range view as to what we can expect and being able to plan out further. So I'm really excited that we were talking about that as a part of Charter Review, because the budget is something that impacts every aspect of our lives. The way that we get services, the way that different projects get prioritized are all about the budget. And I think one of the things that is the most important is making sure that where money is being spent, it's being spent effectively. And I know that that takes some money to be able to do those audits, to be able to do the things to ensure that that funding is being spent the way it's meant to be. But that is the sort of expense that is going to have longer range impacts and be able to keep us moving towards having a more balanced budget. So I think there are lots of different ways that we could look at shifting how budget is being spent, but I think knowing what we actually need to look at first is the step we need to take, and then being able to make adjustments. And I agree very much with Ken, being able to prioritize what's happening out in East and South Pierce County, because those are areas that are often neglected when we're talking about infrastructure and support resources. Thank you.
Thank you. Jerome O'Leary.
Thank you. Well, for me, the priorities that I'm going to mention come from my conversations that I've had with constituents throughout District 1. And the folks that had time to give me time on their front porch had quite a bit of consistency, which was very impressive to me, but also concerning. Infrastructure is probably the very first priority that is consistent and mentioned in detail the most. And when I talk about infrastructure, it's the maintenance of existing infrastructure in our area. So roads, bridges, storm drainage systems. We have open ditches. We don't have storm sewer. We have bridges that we have to cross, waterways that need to be maintained. And we have reoccurring challenges in predictable areas that really should be something that our county system should be able to fix. And that would require a priority be given to that portion of the budget beyond what is happening currently. The next would be safety. We recently passed this safety tax, which I thought was great. It raises about $27 million annually. And I think that's really important and something that we should monitor and pursue. And the last would be our service programs. I think we do have to monitor those closely for effectiveness and make sure that the dollars being spent we're actually getting the results that we need. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a question from our audience. Kenneth King will answer it first. How does your current job or your experience provide skills for this council position? Kenneth King.
So as I was saying, I'm already in a lot of the countywide meetings. Some of the stuff that I have to deal with is interacting with the hospitals and interacting with service providers and interacting with the county level, like the Department of Emergency Management, Human Services, all of that. That's all included in my job right now, what I do. And that is going to continue on as a responsibility in the council because of the fact that we need council members that actually participate in these meetings, which is something that we are missing on the council for our district right now.
Thank you. Kelsey Barrans.
Thank you. So I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about my 9 to 5 job. Well, it's a little bit more than that, and then the charter review. So I'll start with the charter review. Hopefully most folks who are part of Pierce County know that the charter review is something that we've spent the last 6 months working on. And a big part of that, as the chair of that commission, was to help navigate 21 of us towards finding some common ground. And that was not always easy and not something that came to us all as a group easily. And so being able to help that group move through a process, stay on track as much as we possibly could, and work together, even though there were very different points of view on what we needed to prioritize. And so I think that experience in and of itself lends to kind of the challenges that can come along with being in the public eye, as well as doing work in a space that is so open to everyone. The other piece is my 9 to 5 job, which is being a social worker in a community technical college, where I am constantly juggling so many different needs, student needs, needs from funders and grants and coalitions. So being able to hold all those different priorities and make sure that what I'm focused on are the people that I'm there to serve, which are the students, and centering their needs and their choices and what they need to be able to accomplish and moving from there.
Thank you. Jerome O'Leary.
Thank you. Well, first I'll talk about my professional background and how that ties into running for the council and serving the people. Professionally, I've over 30 years as a commercial real estate broker and as a contractor. And I've been fortunate enough to work with local, regional, and national clients, many of which had needs, but had different results that they wanted. So the ability to negotiate and put deals together for the benefit of the parties involved is paramount in my business. And that same skill set, in my opinion, is something that we need to bring more into politics and more into the service for the people. We need not sit on opposite polar ends. We need to come to the middle and find consensus. Secondly, my experience as it relates to the county, not to be redundant, but I've served on 5 or 6 commissions, all of which I was appointed to, most recently being the Charter Review Commission, but also the Planning Commission, where I will be the incoming chair. And that was a unanimous appointment by the current seated council. So I have depth of knowledge in the political arena, working within the establishment and understanding the pros and cons of that. I've built relationships there, and I also have experience in the private sector. And I think all those are critical to the job at hand. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Terrance Mayers.
Yeah, so for the past decade, I've been a program manager, specifically for King County. Spearhead the COVID recovery program, in which I won a national award for innovation for King County. So I've spearheaded programs within emergency management, environmental health. Recently, the indoor air quality program, providing support to small businesses, schools, and a safe start to restaurants and taverns. Work with budgets just within that government aspect from 16 million on. Outside of that, I'm a small business owner. I own a food truck here locally. I'm also a federal firearms license dealer. Outside of that work there, I am an elected official, school board director for Bethel School District. I've served over 5 years. We are a policy governance board. Our budgets balanced budgets up over 400. Outside of that, I'm a part of the WASDA leadership cohort for the state of Washington school board directors, and I'm a part of the NSBA, with National School Board Association, in which I do advocacy work federally, advocating for the million students within the state of Washington. Capitol Hill, speaking to both House and Senate representatives to get additional funding.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Question 3, and for this question, we'll start with Kelsey Barrans. While you would represent District 1 if elected, you would make decisions that impact the entire county. Describe one of the most critical issues facing Pierce County as a whole in the next year and explain how you would address that issue. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So absolutely, being the representative for District 1, that would be my priority. But the whole county has to work together because people travel from one end of the county to the other for work. People have activities that they engage in all over the county. And so ensuring that folks can get from one place to another without running into traffic, without running into road closures, which I run into almost every day, trying to get from rural Pierce County out into the city. That is something that impacts everyone. And it takes a lot of balancing to figure out where are we going to prioritize funds when we're talking about maybe smaller populations versus larger populations, trying to get that infrastructure funding. And so I think the piece that I will bring is that idea of balance and wanting to ensure that equity and being equal are not the exact same thing, making sure that the folks who are going to be impacted the most are the people put at the center of decision making. And if we have folks who can't even get out of their neighborhood because of road closures, bridge closures, those things have to be prioritized over issues that are maybe very important but not having the same impact. So it's really looking at that impact and who is going to feel it the most. And that's how I would go about making my decisions as a council member.
Thank you. Jerome O'Leary.
Thank you. Well, transportation is huge and infrastructure is huge for me. But Kelsey's already talked about that. I did put forward an amendment specific to infrastructure when I was serving on the Charter Review Commission, and that had tremendous support. Unfortunately, it didn't get through, but that would be something that I would bring up as a councilman. The other thing I'd like to talk about is housing and affordability of housing. We have a tremendous shortage of housing here in the state and nationally, about 250,000 units. And our permitting process in Pierce County needs to be better. It can be better. There are other parts throughout the nation where permits are issued in weeks, not months or years. And the cost of permitting is a tremendous impact on affordability of housing. So my effort would be to look strongly at the cost of the permitting process and the timing of the permitting process to see how we could help the county overall work on not only more housing, but affordable housing, because the permitting cost represents about 25% of the cost of a home in Pierce County, with the median price being somewhere around $550,000. So to me, that's a huge issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next will be Terrance Mayers.
Thank you. And I am going to piggyback on Jerome a little bit there, as we talked about permitting costs and impact fees and how that plays a part in our everyday life, and impact fees for building those new construction homes, those multifamily homes are definitely important, and they're key to expanding some of the housing crisis issues that we currently have in Pierce County. We have to remove some of the bureaucracy in place. As a small business owner, it shouldn't take a year for me to get a permit. It shouldn't. We have so many people that are innovative, creative, that want to do business in Pierce County, but there's just that level of bureaucracy that's in place that is a barrier that needs to be addressed. There's ways that we can quickly resolve this issue. If elected, that will be one of my top priorities, because without a pathway to innovation and success for small businesses and removing those barriers, how are we going to expect folks to want to do business in Pierce County if we continue to place barriers on time? Time is money, and time is the only real currency. So if someone wants to invest that within Pierce County, we have to make sure that it's equitable, it's accessible, in this time well spent. So my priority definitely would be addressing impact fees.
Thank you. Kenneth King.
So we've already got a schedule for the most part for next year. Next year is going to have 3 different sectors that we're going to have to prioritize. Not only do we have to go out and redo the bridges that are collapsing and the roads that are collapsing, but we also have to redo the infrastructure for the overdevelopment. I heard it mentioned earlier that there are enough storm drains, but we do have an intense storm drain system in our area that is also still draining into the Puyallup watershed. We have an issue with that still being polluted from the electron dam damage. And then on top of that, next year we'll be concentrating on the implementation of the unified regional approach, which means that we'll be having to put a bunch of services outside of the Tacoma area. Excuse me. And we're going to have to end up supporting those cities to make sure that they're taking the best steps forward and that we're giving them as many tools as possible to move forward. We're going to have to deal with the third part of it is going to be the behavioral health part. We were supposed to be done with the 2023 timeline for the crisis hospitals that were supposed to be in place throughout the entire county and Western Washington. Right now, we've got 2. So there's going to be a bunch next year. It's not going to be just one.
Thank you. Liz, you're muted.
I unmuted myself, so then it muted again. I'm sorry. If you have a question, text it to 425-765-5388. We will try to get to all appropriate questions. So we have a question here, and Jerome O'Leary will answer it first. What ideas do you have to help Pierce County reach its housing and development targets while protecting the health and prosperity of your district's unique farms, forest land, and wildlife? 90 seconds.
Well, thank you. I touched on that a little bit earlier, and just to clarify my comment regarding the storm sewer is different than storm drainage. So I wanted to make sure that that was clarified and everybody understood the difference if I didn't say it clearly. The housing issue in the rural areas is extremely sensitive, requires a balance. We need to prioritize our environment. As a farmer, we recognize that the land is paramount to us. We are the stewards of the land. We need to take care of that, because if we don't, we are out of business. And so we prioritize the environment and our farming community, our resource lands that have quality soils extremely high. At the same time, we have a diverse county. We have people that want to live in urban areas and live in multi-story apartments or condos, and we have people that want to live on a small acreage and farm. And we should embrace both those and make sure there's opportunities and pathways for both those kinds of lifestyles. It's not to say people have to live one way or another, but we should be able to recognize and support both kind of lifestyles while balancing the importance of our natural resources and our farming communities. So to me, those are extreme priorities. They can coexist, and with the right kind of consideration, we can achieve that. And I have the skills to be able to do that.
Thank you. Sorry. Next. Terrance Mayers.
Great question. To answer that, the candidates touched on infrastructure first. You just can't continue to build and build and build without investing in the infrastructure. I live in rural area. I live in Graham, beautiful Graham, great view of Mount Rainier. I moved here for the space. So safeguarding that is something that is dear to my heart. I know you all probably remember the airport that's needed in this area. Working in indoor air quality and specifically airport adjacent communities, I've seen the impact that has plagued King County. So safeguarding our rural areas is something that's important to me. But there does have to be a balance. There does have to be a need, and or more homes versus multifamily homes. We do need property owners that are raising their families. We have to provide opportunities for that American dream, and for a lot of families, it's unattainable right now. So how do we balance keeping our communities where it starts with infrastructure, housing, and then multifamily housing?
Kenneth King?
No, I think so far some good notes have been mentioned. Yes, we do have the stormwater, and sewage is something different. And right now, our sewage does not actually reach the majority of the major developments that are actually being built. So we have to talk about the actual damages to the watershed and the water table, as well as how that affects farmland. And when we look at South Hill, how is that draining down the water? Right? But above that, I spoke with the Realtors Association, and together we realized that up to 30% of the houses in these developments are currently vacant. There is no measurement of vacancy rates. And so while we talk about build, build, build more and more and more, we have empty, empty, empty. And if we can start using those and lowering the prices to make sure that they're accessible to our community members, we won't have to build out as much. And right now, the sprawl is encroaching on farmland, and it is encroaching natural forest land. So we look at these different types of housing, finding the vacancy, but also making sure that we're building up the middle housing. It's not just about density. It's about making sure that we have accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelsey Barrans, please.
Thank you. And I really appreciate this question because housing is such a huge factor for everyone. We all need somewhere to be able to live, to call home. And I'm so lucky that I get to live in District 1 because it's such an incredible place with so much diversity in terms of having more city spaces, suburban spaces, and then very rural spaces as well. And I think one of the pieces that is really important for us to pay attention to is the fact that we are building so much and not necessarily building homes that everyone can afford. That is not necessarily about creating more housing that is over $600,000. That's not the sort of home that everyone can actually move into and afford and be able to stay there for 10 plus years. And so I think it's incredibly important for us to pay attention to the type of housing that we're building, and also that being able to look at keeping that housing in spaces that actually has the infrastructure to support that housing, as opposed to trying to build additional housing in areas with roads that cannot sustain them, no public transportation, or capacity to be able to actually have more population in those spaces. Because, at least to my knowledge, we're losing at least 14 agricultural properties in this state every month. And we're going to be continuing to lose those if we only focus on what sorts of housing we can build for the most money possible. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and this next question will actually be our final question. And we're going to go with an audience question. All right, we're just going to go with this audience question. Noxious weeds are impacting our county's environment. How can we do better in controlling these invasive weeds and also protect our chemical footprint? Well, for this question, we'll start with Terrance Mayers.
To be honest, it's not my realm of knowledge when it comes to noxious weeds outside of my lawn, and trying to take care of that. So what I always say, what I don't know, I invite the experts to the table to learn. I think that's a great opportunity for me to learn and to gain more information on that to make a better informed decision. So I'm going to leave with that. However, since this is the last question, I have to state this. We have 8 school districts within District 1, and we have 2,000 homeless kids. 2,000, actually more than 2,000 if you consider foster care. So I know that homeless question didn't come up in this round, but I think it needs to be addressed because it's not a silo thing. It's not a mental health thing. And the approach of of resolving this issue is something that is dear to my heart, because I've seen kids come to a school that's dropped off at foster care and has no place to go. And I see administrators trying to find resources for those kids. So again, that's one of my whys, and it's something that I wanted to address in this platform. It's not just a Tacoma issue. There's over 254 kids in the Bonnie Lake School District that are unhoused. So thank you.
Thank you. And you know what? We're going to change this up on the fly. The rest of you will answer the first question for 60 seconds, and then we'll do a homelessness question for 60 seconds. It wasn't our script. We just wanted to include the audience questions as much as possible. Is that okay with everybody? Okay, thank you. So next for the noxious weeds question will be Kenneth King. And you have 60 seconds.
All right, so to shorten that down to 60 seconds, yeah, shout out to Pierce County and to some wonderful organizations locally here who just last month pushed for the whole invasive species week, where they did classes, they did actual information pushes to figure out, to help the actual members of the community be able to identify the actual invasive species. I know that my own yard is filled with 2 different species of bramble and blackberries. I don't know the difference between the 2, but thankfully for that push, I'll be able to look that up and find out which one I could just run over with my lawnmower. Then I get the 60 seconds for the homelessness.
We'll ask the homelessness one next. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Kelsey Barrans.
Thank you. And I really appreciate this question, especially as someone who lives on a property where there are multiple different sorts of invasive species and noxious weeds. It is a significant problem because we need to be able to create space for native plant species that can actually sustain the ecosystems that we have, that we are so happy and proud of here in District 1 and in Pierce County. And the issue of these noxious weeds and invasive species are that they make it impossible for those native plants to be able to thrive. And so the work of people like the Pierce County Conservation District to ensure that folks have access to information, folks have access to resources and native plants, and is an incredible way to ensure that our natural environment is something that we are also being good stewards of. And working with folks who have larger properties to be able to bring those native species in is incredibly important for our whole system.
Thank you. Jerome O'Leary.
Thanks for this question. It's kind of right up my alley. Noxious weeds create a real problem for agriculture. They create a problem for a lot of people, the residential as well as the agricultural community. Probably the most prevalent is the tansy weed, and it creates not only a challenge for agriculture, but also for livestock. And we work closely with the WSU Extension Center, who does a great amount of pathology work for plants, together with the Pierce Conservation District. And through those efforts, I think Pierce County does a pretty good job identifying areas that have challenges and then using targeted methods, either hand removal or chemical targeted applications in a supervised way for managing that. But we can always do better. And the spreading of those weeds is not a good thing for anyone. So something we have to work on. I do want to interject about the homeless aspect and especially the kids.
We will get to that. We're going to ask that question right next.
Right now. You have 60 seconds. Kenneth King is first. What ideas do you have to reduce the number of Pierce County residents experiencing homelessness? Kenneth King.
Oh man, I thought I was going to be able to talk about the kids experiencing homelessness. This is going to be too vast. I'm the only candidate that actually works in homeless services at a county level. We have, as I said, the regional approach is coming up. My company right now has 76 families on the wait list. That's 141 unhoused kids. To bounce off of Terrance's thing, not only is it just 2,000 kids, but according to the McNee-Vinto reports, we have about 2 to 3 kids homeless per classroom. We have to make sure that we're actually connecting them and making sure that our CE programs are not working appropriately. We're working on that right now, whether on the county council or not. That's what we're working on. On top of that, we have to make sure that we're diverting families out of homelessness or as quickly as possible back into housing in order to make sure that the impact is low.
Kelsey Barrans?
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about this question because every day part of my work is serving students who are experiencing homelessness. And those students include everyone from our Running Start students who are at the college all the way to moms with their 3 kids who are in a full-time LPN program who are trying to find a way to get to that next step where they can afford to actually live. And so I think it is incredibly important for us to direct funding into anything that is prevention oriented because keeping people housed is a much more effective way of dealing with housing issues than trying to support folks who are already experiencing that housing crisis. And so I think prevention is an incredibly important component, as well as providing realistic and client-focused housing support services because we can't assume that everyone needs exactly the same type of housing or that housing is the only piece. Usually people need a whole variety of services to actually address their needs.
Thank you. Jerome O'Leary, please.
Thank you. I think everyone deserves to live in a safe and stable environment, and homelessness is a huge issue. We see it at St. Francis House, where I've served on the board there for over 6 years. And the services we provide are just part of a web of necessary services because I don't believe the homelessness issue can be solved. There's no silver bullet to it. People, unfortunately, are homeless as a result of other occurrences in their life, whether it's mental health, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's physical challenges, the loss of a job. And those impacts have, unfortunately, a huge ripple effect, and they impact our kids, as Terrance was saying. And I think that we need to do a better job as a county working collectively with the nonprofit sector and coming together as a coalition to address this issue on a reoccurring basis. That's where I think we could really better this. Thank you.
Thank you. Terrance Mayers, please.
Again, as I alluded to, there's over 2,000 students currently in District 1 that are unhoused. A greater fact is we have about 82,000 students within District 1, and about 49%, roughly half of all families are low income. And when we say low income, that's one paycheck away from being unhoused and homeless. Everything that we discussed today is not a silo thing. It could just be one thing that's a domino effect of I can't afford childcare, or my big brother has to stay home from school to watch my little sister because mom has to go to work. If she doesn't go to work, we don't have a house. So nothing is siloed in the approach, and there's no one way that's going to resolve the issue. We have to collectively come to the table and treat this as a public health crisis.
Thank you. Thank you all. That is the end of the question portion. We're sorry we did not get to all of our questions or all of the audience questions. Now it is time for closing statements, which will be 1 minute each and given in the reverse order from the opening statements. So we will begin with Kelsey Barrans.
So I just want to start by again thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It is a crucial component to folks being able to feel like they're making good decisions about their vote. And so thank you for that. I do want to just reiterate how much I love District 1 and love being here, love living here, and have truly appreciated being a representative for District 1 on the Pierce County Charter Review. I think that being an engaged citizen is one of the most important identities that we all can hold. And I deeply appreciate the opportunity to represent District 1, and I hope to do that again as the Pierce County Council representative for District 1. I believe that I bring with me a wealth of experience, both serving on the Charter Review as the chair and also in the work that I do every day to implement programs and services that support all of the students that I get to work with every single day. So thank you again for hosting this space, and I just appreciate the time.
Thank you. Kenneth King.
We have a lot on our plate. We have a lot of things that have not been taken care of over the last few decades. We have a lot that was built 50 years ago and is collapsing right now. But we can get through it. We just have to have people who are willing to actually roll up their sleeves and get into the work. There's no shortage of information that's going to have to be pushed out over the next couple of years. There's no shortage of projects that are going to happen. Whoever you pick to vote for in the up and coming primary, make sure that they voice your opinion, but also that they're willing to do the work and able to do the work, because of the fact that, like, we've seen enough people come in. Just it's time to do the work.
Thank you. Terrance Mayers.
I want to end with something my grandfather used to tell me. He was a World War II veteran, and he had a saying he lived by, and that's your word is your bond. That's it. That's the whole idea. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you make a mistake, you own up to it and you show up, not just when it's easy, but every day, especially when it's hard. That's the kind of accountability I want to bring to Pierce County Council and District 1. Real answers, not spin, showing up to do the work, not just to be seen. Because in the end, representing people isn't about what I get credit for. It's about planting trees for shade I will not enjoy. That's what my grandfather taught me. That's what you deserve. And that's what I'll bring to this office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jerome O'Leary.
Well, thank you again for everyone who took part in the conversation tonight. I do believe that Pierce County works best when we put people before politics. Throughout my career in business, agriculture, and public service, I've learned that the best decisions come from listening first, bringing people together, and finding practical solutions to serve the whole community. Our county faces real challenges. Affordability, safety, transportation, and responsible growth are just some of those, and we've talked about many of them tonight. I believe we can meet those challenges through fiscal responsibility, thoughtful leadership, and a willingness to work together. We don't have to choose between supporting economic opportunity and preserving the character of our communities that we call home. We can and should do both. I'm committed to giving back to our community. I believe I have the knowledge and experience to do the job. I'll listen, and I will always put the Pierce County citizen first. Thank you, and I'd be honored to have your vote.
Thank you very much to the candidates for participating in this forum and to the audience for watching. The candidates for Pierce County Council, District 1 are, in reverse ballot order, Kelsey Barrans, Kenneth King, Terrance Mayers, and Jerome O'Leary. 2 of these candidates will move on to the general election in November. Bailey?
Thank you, Liz. Viewers can expect to receive ballots the week of July 20th to 24th. Be sure to vote on or before August 4th. Before you do, also check out the League of Women Voters online voters guide at vote411.org and go to votewa, so that's votewa.org to check your voter registration or register if you have not yet done so. Both sites identify ballot issues and candidate information specific to your own voting precinct. We encourage everyone to use that as a resource in addition to the standard voters pamphlet. The voters pamphlet for the August 4th election is also available online now. So if you want to read about it beforehand, before you get your ballots, you can do so. You will also find our other candidate forums and a link to the recording of this one at our website, lwvtpc.org. You can also find it by Googling or searching for League of Women Voters of Tacoma-Pierce County. Thank you to our candidates, our timekeeper, Terry Baker, and to Chloe Wilhelm, our Zoom moderator, and to you for watching. Your vote is due by 8 p.m. on August 4th. We recommend voting as soon as you receive your ballot and deposit it into a ballot drop box near you. Most of all, please remember to vote because your vote really does count. Thank you and have a lovely evening.